They brought a bulldozer to my lake ranch house and flattened it into a heap of splintered wood over an HOA fee. I never owed to an HOA I was never part of. I stood there, coffee mug slipping from my hand, watching my wife's last wish crumble under steel and diesel, while the HOA president smirked from her white golf cart. She thought she had taken everything from me. What she didn't know was that she had built her entire kingdom on my land. It started before dawn, the kind of gray light where the lake looks like glass. I was on the porch with my black coffee aching knee propped on the railing when I heard the growl. Not birds, not the water. A deep-throated rumble that shook the mug in my hand. Through the mist came the yellow monster, its blade already chewing into the wall of the ranch house. The same wall where Ellie used to sit in her armchair and watch the sunset. My shout, "What the hell are you doing?" was swallowed by the roar of the machine. The driver didn't hear or didn't care. But Karen Brennerman, queen of Lakeshore Bend HOA, heard me just fine. She sat in her spotless cart visor, tilted clipboard across her knees, and she smiled. "Mr. Reeves, you failed to pay your HOA fees. This demolition is authorized." Fees. I was never in your damn HOA. My voice cracked with rage. "This land's been in my family for 60 years. She tapped her clipboard like it was scripture. Absorbed last year. Notices were sent. Notices I never saw. No letter, no knock, no warning. Just a bulldozer turning Ellie's garden into mud. I called the clerk's office. Nothing on file. I called the sheriff. Deputy Vansky showed up, gave Karen a friendly wave, glanced at her papers, then shrugged at me. "Civil matter, Jack. Take it up with a lawyer." And he drove off while my porch collapsed behind me. Civil matter. That's what they called it as my home was erased from the map. By nightfall, I was numb, sifting through shards of wallpaper that still smelled faintly like Ellie's perfume. But numbness turned into something colder. At the county office, buried in the digital archives, I found it a boundary adjustment signed 18 months ago. Backdated, rubber-stamped, forged. They hadn't just stolen, they'd planned it. Karen thought she'd won, but all she'd done was start a war. I knocked on doors. The Hendersons down the road looked pale when I explained. They pulled out a letter about new fee schedules they'd paid without question. Every house I visited, the same story: families tricked, bullied, hijacked by the HOA's shady takeover. Hope sparked, but then it died fast. A land use attorney told me it was fraud. Sure, but beating it in court would cost $10,000 just to file 6 figures to fight. I hung up, feeling hollow. Days later, a letter arrived I was banned from my own land. If I set foot on it, I'd be arrested for trespassing. I sat awake that night staring at the paper. Trespassing. On the dirt my grandfather bought. Round 2 in the morning I drove out there moving like a thief on my own property. That's when I saw the surveyor's stake marked 2 weeks before the supposed vote. Proof they'd planned demolition before they even had fake authority. I felt my knees give, and for a moment I wondered maybe I really was beaten. Maybe Ellie's house was just gone and I was too old to fight. But then I remembered my father's story about the land, about what was buried beneath it. I opened the old oak chest, pushed aside Army Corps manuals, and found it my grandfather's surveyor map. Thick paper, faded red ink. And there it was, the water main, the electrical trunk line, the access road. All running across land we never sold. Karen thought she controlled me. She hadn't realized I still controlled everything her kingdom depended on. For the first time since the bulldozer, I slept. Patience became my weapon. I didn't rush. I met with Mike Callahan, a buddy from the Corps who now ran a utility business. He squinted at the map, chuckled, and said, "Hell no, Jack. They never recorded easements. It's all handshake deals. On paper, it's yours. That was all I needed. They had the money, the lawyers, the sheriff. But I had the supply lines. I started watching. From the road, with a zoom lens with a recorder. Karen screaming at a kid for skateboarding. Karen measuring a neighbor's grass with a tape. Fines for flags, for trash cans, for garden gnomes. She ruled by fear, and I documented every inch of it. Then I played their game of procedure. Requested 5 minutes at an HOA meeting. Walked in calm, laid out my deed, my evidence of forgery. They laughed. Sandra Loomis threatened to sue me for harassment. Karen smirked. I gathered my papers and left without a word. Behind the clubhouse hedges, I found the gray utility box sitting squarely on my easement. I called Mike. Flip it off. The next morning, the showers trickled, the sprinklers died, the pristine pool turned swamp green. Gates stuck open. By Wednesday, the whole neighborhood buzzed with fury. A father posted a video of the murky pool, $600 a month for this. What are we paying for, Karen? It went viral. That's when my letter arrived, hand-delivered to Karen, formal notice of easement enforcement. 7 days to remove or pay fair lease. Not from Jack Reeves, but from a property management LLC I formed overnight. They weren't dealing with me anymore. They were dealing with a corporation that owned their veins and arteries. Karen panicked, called me a terrorist at a meeting. Someone filmed it and the local news ran it with the headline, HOA, President Accuses Veteran of Terrorism. Public opinion turned. Then I sold a 15-acre woodland across the lake to a developer named David Chen with rights to build a public boat ramp the same channel Lakeshore Bend claimed as exclusive. Their private lake access vanished overnight. The showdown came at the clubhouse ballroom. Packed room residents glaring. I walked straight down the aisle, plugged in a USB, and filled the screen behind Karen with the forged property document. Slide by slide, I laid it out, the fake signature, the timeline, the utility easements, the road cutting across my land. Then, the video of Karen hurling racial slurs at a landscaper. Gasps filled the room. I faced the crowd. Every drop of water, every watt of power, every road you drive runs through land that belongs to me. Monday morning, I shut it all down unless you dissolve this HOA tonight. Silence then, applause swelling into a roar. For themselves, for their freedom. Karen snapped, screaming. I was lying, grabbed a binder and hurled it into her own board. 2 off-duty cops stood up and dragged her off stage as cameras rolled. That should have been the end, but cornered animals lash out. That night she blasted an email calling me a felon, a fraud, a squatter. She didn't know I'd already sent notarized copies of everything to prosecutors and the news. Her lies became evidence. Sometime after midnight, she drove her white golf cart down the old access road, a steak knife in hand. My wildlife cameras caught her slashing the tires of my Ford. The next morning, Deputy Vansky himself came out, not shrugging this time, not with TV crews watching, and arrested her on her front lawn. That was the moment the spell broke. The iron grip of the HOA snapped with the click of handcuffs. Karen Brennerman, Queen of the golf cart kingdom, led away like any other criminal. And that's where my story ends, not with a rebuilt house, not with a neighborhood barbecue. Just with the tyrant gone, her power stripped, and my land finally my own again. Because if there's one thing I learned, it's this: bullies only win when you forget what's yours.